Hey there, second graders. We are going to continue with Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle, Chapter 1, Section 2. All right? We're learning about Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle, like what she looks like and all about her life. Okay? So here's more about Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle. Nobody knows how old Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle is. She says she doesn't know herself. She says that what difference does it make how old I am when I shall never grow any bigger? Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle's dog, Wag, has puppies every once in a while, and so she keeps a long list of names of children who want them on the blackboard in her kitchen. For Lightfoot the cat's kittens, she has a long waiting list on the blackboard in the dining room. Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle's backyard is full of big holes for where small boys dig for Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle's buried treasure, and her front yard is full of flowers which little girls pick, jam into vases, and place about her living room or carry to their teachers. Every child in town is a friend of Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle's, but she knows very few of their parents. She says grown-ups make her nervous. For the first year after she built her house, Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle lived there all by herself, except for Wag and Lightfoot, and she was very lovely. Then, one dark, rainy afternoon, when she was baking sugar cookies and thinking how much fun it would be if she knew someone besides Wag and Lightfoot to invite for tea, she happened to look out of her kitchen window, and there, coming up the street in the pouring rain, dragging a suitcase and bawling, was a little girl. Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle wiped the flour off her hands and hurried out into the rain and invited the little girl in for tea. The little girl's name was Mary Lou Robertson, and she was 8 years old and quite fat, and she was running away from home. She told Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle all of this after she had drunk 3 cups of cambric tea and eaten 7 sugar cookies. She said, "I'm running away from home because I hate to wash dishes. All I do is wash dishes. I am just a servant. Dishes, dishes, dishes. Wash, dry, put away. That's all I do. My mother doesn't love me at all. She isn't my real mother anyway. She's probably got me out of an orphanage just to wash her dishes." Mary Lou began to cry again. So she had her 8th sugar cookie, and it got quite soggy before she finished it. Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle said, "Isn't she your real mother?" Mary Lou said, "She says she is, but no real mother would make their kid wash dishes. Wash dishes, wash dishes, wash dishes." "Now that's a funny thing," said Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle. "I mean, you're hating washing dishes so much because, you see, I like to wash dishes. In fact, I enjoy washing dishes so much that a cause of great sorrow to me is the fact that the only dishes I must wash are for Wag, Lightfoot, and me. 3 or 4 dishes a meal, and that's all. When I wash dishes, Mary Lou, I pretend that I am a beautiful princess with long golden curly hair." Mary Lou's hair was jet black and braided into 2 stiff little pigtails. "An apple blossom skin and forget-me-not blue eyes. I have been captured by a wicked witch, and my only chance to get free is to wash every single dish and have the whole kitchen sparkly clean before the clock strikes. For when the clock strikes, the witch will come down and inspect to see if there is a crumb anywhere, and if there are pots and pans that have been put away wet, if there is silverware that has been thrown in the drawer, or if there is a sink that has not been scrubbed out, the witch will have me in her power for another year." Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle looked at the clock and jumped up. "It's 10 minutes to 4, Princess, and I have so much to do. Hurry, hurry, hurry." Mary Lou also jumped up and began carrying the tea things to the sink, and Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle whisked them and out of the dishwater, and Mary Lou dried them, and Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle hurried as fast as she could and put the cookie things away, and every once in a while she would stop and say, "Hark, Princess, do you hear the thump of the witch's big gnarly cane?" Then Mary Lou, her braids bobbing up and down in excitement, would say, "I hear it, Princess. It is coming closer and closer." Soon the kitchen sparkled, and the dishes were washed and dried and put away. Every crumb had been swept off the floor. Mary Lou even curled Lightfoot's tail neatly around her legs and smoothed Wag's fur. Just before the clock strikes, Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle said to Mary Lou, "Princess, I must leave you now, but the witch your work. But show the witch your work, and oh, I hope you will be freed." Then she went upstairs, and pretty soon down the stairs came a horrible witch with long black dress, a tall black hat, and big gnarly cane. Mary Lou was very scared until she saw the sparkly eye of Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle under the black hat. She showed the witch the kitchen, and the witch took out the cookie pans and carried them over to the light to see if they were clean and dry. She got down on her knees, squeaking the rusty gate, to see if Mary Lou had swept under the stove. She felt inside the teacups to see if there was sugar in the bottoms, and she put on her glasses to examine the sink. But she could not find anything wrong, so she handed Mary Lou the key to the kitchen door and screeched out, "You are free, princess, but I will get you again, never fear." The witch clumped back up the stairs, and in a few minutes down came Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle. "Well," said Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle, "do you see why I like to wash dishes?" Mary Lou said, "Oh, Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle, that was the most fun I've ever had." Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle said, "Of course, you can have more fun than I can because you have so many more dishes to wash. If I only had more dishes and could take longer, I would be a princess with curly yellow long hair, apple blossom skin, and blue eyes, a beautiful voice, and I would sing sad songs over the dishpan. Also, if I had more dishes, I would have the witch ride through the night on a broomstick, and I would creep out on the back porch to see if she was coming. I could hear her land with a thump on the roof, and would slip out upstairs to see if she was going to slide down the chimney or thump down the stairs. Oh, there would be ever so many exciting things if I pretend if only I had more dishes to wash." After a while, it stopped raining and the sun came up. And Mary Lou took her suitcase and went home. That night, her mother, it really was her mother, of course, almost fainted when she came out of the kitchen exactly at 27 minutes after dinner, and Mary Lou was sweeping the floor, and all of the dishes were washed and dried and put away, and everything was immaculate. Mrs. Robertson rushed in and called Mary Lou's father to come out to the kitchen and pretended to fall on the floor with a surprise. And then he said to Mary Lou's mother, "I like your new maid, Madame. In fact, she is so much better than Tilly Slopwash, who used to be here, that I think I should invite her to a moving picture show some early evening." And here's a picture. If you can see that. And that is the end of Chapter 1, Section 2. We will come back for the next section next time.